And welcome to all of you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you chose to be with us today to spend this beautiful hour of a bright and sunny Sunday morning here in good company with people who think like you do and have some similarities and at least are willing to tolerate each other. No, it's more than that. I'm kidding. We do more than that. This is a place where you really are loved. And we use that word. It's a word that gets thrown around a lot, but here we really mean it. We love you for who you are. We love you for who you are becoming. And we love you for who you will be in the future. All of that together. And the beautiful part about it is this is a place where you're loved and honored regardless of where you've been before you got here and regardless of how you self-identify right now in this place and in this time. We honor you, we celebrate you, and we look at your uniqueness as the opportunity for this thing called power, this thing called God, to express itself as you and to bring that forward in a very unique and special way. So thank you for being here and sharing this time with us. And I'm also here to remind you that such is the nature of life, that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. And you are that opportunity, and so am I, and so it is. So if you would join me just a moment for a very brief treatment to just kind of set the tone and the mood and the place and get me grounded and settled here as we move into this time together. There is one power, one infinite intelligence, one universal presence. It is right here, right now, in us, as us, through us. It is the essence of all things and all life. So as we come into this time together, we come in here recognizing that we have within us the power to see that, to know that, to experience the presence of the infinite. And so we open our hearts and minds to that intention, to that idea, and to that willingness during this time together. As we do so knowing that it is done, it is complete, we have already set it in motion. This is our truth, we let it be, and so it is. Well, our world traveler has returned and is back to share with us at this time, Reverend Angela. Thank you.
Good morning. I wasn't going to mention that, but since he said... I miss you when I'm gone. I don't look for a Science of Mind place. I do work in Manila periodically. And for the first time, I got to go, and it wasn't work. I went for a wedding. And I thought I was just going to a wedding, and I ended up becoming a godmother in that wedding. And the trip was on and popping since. I was in 7 different airports, and I vacationed in Singapore for the first time. And anybody who's seen the movie Crazy Rich Asians, everything in that movie I saw. It was, was this in the movie? I want to see that. Was this in the movie? I want to see that. So I brought my book, The Power of Decision, because I think about what we do with our time. As we assess our values in life, we really have to sit down and see from age 2, many of you know I have a granddaughter, Lyric, and she has her own agenda at 2. So she decides how she wants to spend her time, and she does it better than her sister and brother. She will get on her little iPhone, and she has iTunes for about 30 minutes. And then she uses her imagination, and the coaster could be a hamburger, for about an hour. And then she wants to watch TV, and she'll pick a movie. Big Hero 6 is her favorite right now, if anybody knows that one. And she will watch that in its entirety. So I'm watching her day and what she does with her time. My time management course is just populating all in there because she's seeing what value is to her. So we as adults, we might forget that along the way. We forget that we're supposed to really do what matters most every single day. Even if you have put it on your calendar, because we have things that are time specific. You got to do that meeting. Service is at 11. If you come at noon, it's over. So some things are time specific and other things are time flexible. I have to pay taxes, so I wait till the last minute, so Monday I'll be mailing it in. Some people have done it already and got their refunds back. Time flexible, right? So there are things that are specific and flexible. When we get specific about our time, that means we're making a decision. How we want to do it And if we find that we're putting things down in our lives that we never get to do or we don't do, how about scratch it off the list? Why waste time or energy saying, I should do this, I should do that, and you're not doing any of it? Again, the power of decision kept coming up. This is the condition of my power of decision book. Because it is one of those books that I might just pull off the shelf out of nowhere because I need my power back. I have given it away to somebody, the maintenance man, Comcast. You know, they try to suck me dry. So if I don't get my power back, I'm out there willy-nilly want to just blow up the phone, you know, or blow up the TV because it's not working again, but you want my money for my bill every month, but you're not going to. So power of decision has to, you know, here you go, Angela. So the power of decision is a very powerful book for me. I don't think Singapore happened by accident, because some of the titles in this book that I read almost 20 years ago now, it never gets old. That's why we call this New Thought. I'm going to read from a couple of lines in the book, but I'm going to give you the titles, because this is what we decide to do. We can either decide to do something or not, right? Even not doing something is a decision, they said. I heard that as an adult. But they do have the word indecision on here. So it's indecision. You don't know what to do. Everybody tells you what to do. Decision. What is that? Decide to be happy. Decide to live richly. Decide to be healthy. Decide to be creative. So all of those tells us that that's lyric. I'm watching lyrics, imagination. It goes into our adult lives to be who we are. We decide to be who we are or not be who we are. So I'm going to read from, real briefly, the decision. No fact can appear in your experience unless you have accepted the idea and the thought. Knowing this, you order your experience and you live its freedom. You do not measure yourself with the measurements of facts and intellect. You see yourself as a becoming process. So who would think watching some movie a year ago, because I love the movies, I think it's one of my therapeutic things to do. When I just want to not think, I go to the movies and just get entertained that way, or art, or those kinds of things. So I thought the movie was really beautiful and very well done. And then here it is, less than a year later, I get to go. So of course I had to watch that movie on the way back from Singapore to see what I really saw and experienced. So I actually said that was the power to live richly. That's a very rich country if you haven't been. They owe no one anything. It is luxurious and plush everywhere you go. It just shows up that way. So they have a country that decided to live richly. So I want to read just briefly from this, and then we will go into treatment. Make your decision that you shall be set free of all present lack and limitation, and there shall be none in your future. So you decide how I want to live my life, how you want to live your life. And it's this kind of teaching, this deliberate getting up on Sunday morning and coming, and we're going to talk and we're going to hug and we're going to hear something that's going to keep me pumped and motivated. This is our filling station. We can go and go and go and go, but we always have to fill that gas tank up so we can keep going. This is where we get fuel. The other area that is a gift to us from this teaching, The Science of Mind by Ernest Holm, and what I use on every trip and how I'm standing before you, is spiritual mind treatment. You decide that you are one with this power, and we act accordingly. So let us get ourselves positioned to receive a little more prayer this morning. Relax in your seat. You can close your eyes. You can keep them open if you want it. Closing them wards out distraction. Remember to breathe in and out. That helps to center us. We don't have to go looking for it. That's how God is. It's readily available. It's a part of what we're made of. and this is what I know. There is only one power. It is everywhere present, all over, everywhere, with everyone and everything. There's no place that God is not. This presence is in me, is in you, and we get to decide whether we want to live happy or healthy or richly. Every little thing is a decision. As we empower ourselves through the message that we received today, and that we are collectively one with the world, anything that happens somewhere else, even if it doesn't feel like it's directly happening to us, it is, because we are one. The happiness in the world and the sadness, we can feel it. So when any doubt, any fear, any lower vibrational occurrences happen, we know we have power in a new decision. Just in the quietness of it, even if we don't know what is next, we be still, and it is revealed and unfolded. We are well fueled, and the better we take care of ourselves, the better we filter life well and produce life well and create and discover and love and live and be joyful and kind and considerate and excited, encouraged, rejuvenated, relaxed, recalibrated. You say it, I say it, it's so. We give thanks, I give thanks for every big thing, every little thing, and all the in-between things, because I know it matters. There are no accidents. Life is serendipitous. So we get ready. I get ready. I know who I am, and I become more of who I am because I ask. We release this knowing the truth is forever unfolded, unlimitedly, abundantly. And so it is.
Emerson says it's a wise person who knows that what they need, what they believe, what they think, is what everyone else could use, could believe, could know, and could think. And so I'm basing today's talk a little bit on that idea. For those of you who are much more left-brained than I am, and who kind of have to already work a little bit to pull the left-brain logic out of my talks, you may have a little harder time today. I will tell you that up front. This talk comes with a disclaimer. Because what I want to do today is do something more like painting a picture. Do something more like giving you some thoughts, ideas, and feelings, and sharing some writing and some material that is understood logically, but it's also understood in a different way. It's understood in more depth, it's understood in more feeling, and it's understood in non-words sometimes. And I want to do that by sharing with you one of the great traditions. This month we're looking at different of the great religious traditions and what our current thought and in consciousness, how that has been contributed to by those traditions. And we're not here to make good little yogis or Buddhists or Christians or any other kind of religious person out of you. We are here to look at where in those religions, where in those thought patterns of previous centuries are the gems of the idea, the beginnings, the seeds of the ideas that we now use in very powerful, meaningful ways. And one of the reasons for doing that is to help us understand our current thought a little better, but it's also to look for those opportunities and those activities which we can engage in order to bring a greater sense of aliveness, a greater sense of freedom, a greater sense of beingness, a greater sense of ease and grace into our lives. Many people get into this teaching because they've had some challenge and they're looking for a way to live better. And that's how I got here. I was working 2 jobs and going to school full time and had crashed and burned and got in a 12-step program and thought I was okay and then found out I wasn't. And on it went. And I really grew from that, and it was a wonderful beginning. And I got into this teaching because I needed something more than what I had gotten so far in all of my other religious studies. And I discovered in my first time here that I found what that something was. I'd always thought that in all religions, as religions have grown and developed over the centuries, that they're behind each of them, there's something more. There's something everybody's pointing to. It's like our words that don't quite encapsulate everything we want to say about something. And I kept thinking, there's got to be that something more. There's something behind it that's more generic and more basic. And not to make any of it wrong or less than, but it wasn't feeding me. And when I walked into this room, and these rooms just down the street, what I heard was a kind of truth that rang in my soul and my heart in a way that was different than I had yet experienced. And it wasn't because of the content of the words, it was because of the truth of the words. And that truth was a kind of sense or feeling beyond whether the actual factual stuff that was being talked about was right or wrong. And that's what I think all religions have been working with and reaching toward as long as we've been religious, as long as we as human beings have been spiritual and been creating and developing ideas. So today I'm just going to ask us to wander through some ideas. Feel them, try them on, see what fits. The cool part about this is you don't have to accept any of it. And we read the thing at the beginning about what we believe, and I believe all of that. However, I didn't always. It's okay. You may not believe any of it. You may just like the fact that you get good hugs here. I don't know what brings you here. But whatever it is, take that part and let it grow, and let the other pieces, just let them be. Kind of we say, take what you like, leave the rest. So listen to this and see if this resonates for you. This is an open-minded discipline. It is a discipline that does not force its followers. That is, it doesn't dictate that you should act one step at a time in a certain way. It doesn't condemn all other actions or recipes for actions. It describes everything as divine and sacred because the infinite God is everywhere and in everyone. The supreme self is truly created in this real world. Everything belongs to God, and it also pervades everywhere. Our teaching speaks about all pervasiveness and all controlling nature of the supreme being. The changing things that appear in the physical and mental world may be realized as divine. The supreme self that shines unmixed in everyone and everything. Beneath all names and forms and qualities of personality, the world, life pervades everywhere. The infinite is explained by the use of phrases such as, it is near and it is far. It is within and it is without. It is above, it is below. Could be a good description of what we teach, right? It's a description of Hinduism from about 2,000 years ago. We are a new thought teaching, but we use ancient ideas that resonate. And there's a whole lot of other stuff written 2,000 years ago. We look at it and go, no, doesn't match today. But there's a lot there that is a long line. It's like a continuous flow and line of truth that moves forward. The great gift that science of mind and new thought has from the ancient Vedic and Upanishad tradition, which later became Hindu, is this concept, this idea of oneness, this idea of one power, one idea, one thought, one feeling, everything being connected and being one. As we've moved into our days now and our times now where we study science and we've looked at the solid things that appear to be separate. I'm here, you're sitting out there. We look like we're in different places. Nothing looks like we're connected. Except we do figure out, we are breathing in the same air, trading it off back and forth. And I see some of you making faces. Yeah. We're sharing the energy of the room and the temperature of the room. When we look more deeply, we discover that we can actually look at and find out that with each of our bodies, there's an energy pattern and an energy field around it that reaches out for many, many feet. So you're not just sitting in your chair next to somebody, you're sitting in your chair inside somebody. Solid science supports all of that. If we go deeper and we look more clearly and closely at the whole business of quantum physics, we discover that really most of this is empty space. Energy held together by relationships. It is said that the air you're exhaling and the molecules you're letting go from your body right now are being picked up by a Chinaman in about 4 or 5 days on the other side of the world, or someone from Japan, or someone in another country. There is nothing we are or do that is individual and separate. We may look like it. It may appear on the outside. But when you take that deep breath and you look at the gift from this ancient and beautiful tradition, you realize the idea of oneness makes all of that make more sense. Well, in our desire to be practical, and it is my desire, what difference does it make? It's a great concept. It's sweet. It's a sweet idea to realize we're all connected and we're all one. We're never alone. That even when we're seeming to feel alone, we're sitting inside other people's energy fields and are walking past them and moving through them, and we're never really disconnected. That's sweet. That's nice. It's comforting. Unless you really want to be by yourself, then you have to go further away. But so what? Angela referred to some of it earlier, and that is one of the biggest pieces is what that oneness means is the way we are thinking about one another and speaking about one another and behaving towards one another is not about one another at all. The way I am treating you is about how I'm treating me. The way I'm speaking about you is about how I'm speaking about me, because there's only one. There's not several. There's not a bunch of different individuals. We are all connected and coming out of that same one energetic source. We're expressions of that divine. So it gives us a chance to step back and say, is this really how I want to treat myself? I heard an apology to a driver this morning. That's not how I want somebody to treat me. I won't say what names I used. Or those folks that just want to get in front of the traffic. I don't know about you, but I do. This just is driving me. I want to get in front. Well, for one person to win, everybody else has got to lose. And yet, in a world of oneness, there's no space for that. We're all winning, and no one is really losing in the long run. Another very powerful purpose or result of this oneness teaching and this deep, deep awareness, an idea that there is one Brahman, there's one God, there's one infinite, and it is absolutely out of no shape, no form, no nothing. It is the fullness of possibility, and yet at the same time is taking shape and form as each and every one of us. Our thoughts, our minds, our bodies, our relationships, everything about us. And when you take that next step, then what does that say about how we treat our bodies? One of the beautiful things that you see in the whole traditions from India is that folks adorn themselves, your bright colors and gold. Whether all that is to your stylistic liking or not, you don't have to like it or not. But what strikes me about it is there's a real intention of saying that I am an expression of the divine, and so is all of this. Therefore, I'm going to treat this, me, myself, my body, everything about it, what I eat, how I eat, where I go, the kinds of things I do, the places I put my body, the amount of rest and sleep I give it, all those kind of practical things. Now we know why those are so important. Because when we do that for ourselves, we're doing it for everyone else at the same time, because there's only one. So when you increase your health, you're increasing the health for the entire human race. When you increase your care of yourself, you're increasing the care for the entire human race, and vice versa. So it becomes more than just about being good and healthy, because that's what we do now, and it's on the news and the media, and if you want to be beautiful and sexy and have all the people, fawning over you, you better be in good shape. It's not about that. It's about honoring the divine that you are and living in that to the very fullest for as long and as well as you possibly can. Honoring it, taking care of it, being good to it. There are other aspects to this. In the idea of the ancient idea of Brahman, God shows up in two forms, two styles, two ways of being. Actually, three forms, two styles. One is that totally impersonal, infinite power that is just there, waiting to be expressed and used and brought forward. It has no shape, no form, is all nothingness. And yet it's all everythingness. It has all the potential. And then there is the other element or aspect, which is all about the personalness of God. One of the challenges we've always had in New Thought, I think, is that tension between this infinite impersonal power that we call God, which is available to all of us equally, which works the same way for one as it does for another. If I change my mind, my life changes. If I keep my mind stuck where it was, my life stays right stuck where it was, or gets worse. If I open up to new ideas, new things begin to show up and happen for me. We do that part really well. We sometimes struggle, though, with the personal God part of it. Because we get lost in that old idea that God is a person, an individual person, and we somehow have to connect to it, and it can punish us, and it can bless us, and it can do all those other things to us. And that's not what they're talking about at all. What they're saying is that infinite possibility becomes very personal to you and to me as we decide how we want to live and what we want to be in the world. And the Hindus have, as you probably know, thousands of gods. The Vedas, which is what I'm really kind of focusing on the ideas from in this, there are 790,000 different Vedas. I did not read them all. Out of that, only about 120,000 of them are even written down. The rest are all transmuted from guru to guru and guru to student and student to guru and passed along. It's a whole body of idea and information about what this thing called God is really about and how it shows up. And it's rich and it's deep. And if you read some of that, even if you don't understand all the words, and I don't read Sanskrit. But if I read the English with the Sanskrit poked in and around it, something happens, something shifts. Because what happens is you're tapping into a universal consciousness, a universal set of beliefs and ideas that have been around for thousands of years, and that we then find that place beyond the logic, that place of knowing that is deeper than that is behind that. And sometimes that's what you get. You don't get any answers, do this, do that, do the other. You get that sense, that feeling, that awareness of, okay, I'm okay, God is good, life is good, I'm good. And the part of that infinite power that I am using right now in my life, in the decisions I'm making, in the choices I'm making, in the places I'm traveling to, that is my part. That is my personal Brahman. That is my personal expression of that infinite. And it's okay to get really personal about that. One of our earlier ministers used to talk about this infinite that's Big Sweetie. Big Sweetie. She always shook her bosoms when she said that on the stage. I can't quite pull that off, but It was rich and it was wonderful. She talked about Big Sweetie. The Big Sweetie was this, and Big Sweetie took care of that, and Big Sweetie did the other. She also, when she got into trouble and felt like she had gotten disconnected, like you were talking earlier, like when we get in those places where we don't know that we're still in line, she'd stomp her foot. I demand to see the good in this now. She talked to Big Sweetie like it was a real person. And for her it was in those moments. Lived a rich and fun life with that. Because she was taking that infinite possibility and personalizing it for herself. That's what is offered in this teaching. You get to decide what this infinite is to you and then live accordingly. Is it some horrible, difficult taskmaster of life that says you got to figure out everything and get it right and do it the right way, or you're not going to be happy? Sometimes I think we've traded in our old Puritanism about what's sin and what isn't, and you have to behave a certain way and do a certain thing, and anything that's fun is probably wrong and bad for you, and all of that. Did anybody else grow up with that? Well, of the past, we've kind of sometimes traded that for, if you're not eating exactly the right thing, you don't have the right brand of bottled water, and you don't do, somehow you're not okay, and you're not right. It's not okay for life to be messy. If your life's messy, there must be something wrong with you. Wrong. Have you been out in the woods lately? It's all messy. And the beauty to me of what this ancient Vedic teaching does is it brings a lens to life so that you begin to see that in that messiness there is order, there is form, there is power, there is beauty. You begin to see in the various teachings and teachers there's always something more going on than appears to be in any given moment. One of the other great gifts of this teaching that was brought to us from that teaching is something that's called the coach to everywhere. It's one of the Upanishads, and it's the first Upanishad ever to be translated into to one of the Aramaic or Arabic languages, and from that it got into Latin, and from there, or into Latin and Greek, and then from there into English. And it is a foundational idea that is so much a part of our psychology that we don't even recognize it anymore. See if this sounds familiar. There's an aspect of you that is the divine, that is God expressing individually your perfection, your best idea of what you and who you are. Right? And then there's other parts of you. There's that little part of you that thinks that everybody's out to get you. And then there's that other part of you that thinks that certain people are just going to behave badly toward you. And then there's that part of you that always behaves badly toward certain people. And then there's that part of you that believes no matter how hard you try, you're always going to be poor and struggling. That part of you that believes that life cannot be okay and easy. Maybe you don't have those. Good. If you've been in this teaching a while, hopefully you've kind of made peace with some of that stuff and moved it on. See, and in that ancient Upanishad, what they say is that you are a coach. You are not like a basketball coach, but like a coach you ride in with a horse pulling it and seats and a driver and reins. And it lays out all of who we are and how we are, that we are driven by our minds. The mind is the reins that drives the horse. The horse is your physicality, your emotions, your feelings. And it goes through a whole big piece about what happens when your physicality and your emotions and your feelings are in charge and your mind is not. It's switched off. I know people like that. I've been like that at times. Or what happens when all you've got going is your mind and it's so in charge and in control that the horse can't even move. And then the coach goes nowhere. And it's all about having that perfection within us, but also these other aspects of ourselves, which we are here to know and to learn and to heal and to free ourselves from. Because the point in this teaching this teaching as in the Vedas, is to live as freely and as completely as the spirit man, the spirit person, that you possibly can. And all that goes with that is about teaching us how to let go of the other parts. Doesn't mean they ever go away altogether, but we learn how to live from a different place. We do things like being out in public, and instead of walking around in the world seeing all of these possible dangers that you might see through the eyes of that passenger in your coach that says you're less than, you're not good enough, you're anything but the infinite and individualized. Instead of that, we choose to turn our minds to, I am an expression of the divine, and so are you, and so are you, and so are you, and so are you. And see how differently people suddenly become. Hi, I'm God. Who are you? Please don't do that. And if you do, don't tell them I said do. You know what I mean? When you get that idea of choosing, that's what the namaste is about. The spirit in me salutes the spirit in you. The God in me recognizes the God in you. The good in me. If the God language is too much, that's fine. Set it aside. My first idea of God when I got into this teaching was a seagull, and it worked. Someone said, turn your issues over to your God, and the only thing I could find was a seagull that even looked interesting. And so I said, here, take it. Seagull flew away, and I felt better. And I went, oh, maybe there's something to this stuff. It was the beginning. Little tiny steps. See, you guys are smarter than that, but get it? It's like, okay, you begin to move. You find the place that you can find a piece of truth to believe in and live it. Stand on it. Embrace it. Look for it in the faces of other people. Look for it. Listen for it in the sounds of the world around you. Listen for it in the buzz in your ears when you meditate. Anybody get that buzz when you meditate? That's just the energy in your body ramping up because you're tapping into another kind of energy than what you normally do. The point of all of this is to say that we have available to us all of the power, the energy, the resources we need to live the lives that we imagine, to live the lives of our dreams. And what this center is about and what this teaching is about is helping us to access that. You know, you can have it all there, but if you don't know how to use it, it's kind of like, well, so what? My mom and her computer, she could never remember to turn it on first. You know, if you don't know how to use it. And what we're about in this teaching is learning together and developing and growing in our knowledge of how to use this wonderful thing called life. This wonderful thing called spirit, God, moving in and as and through everything. And here's the best part. The best part is you can't get it wrong. Part of the beauty of the whole Hindu and pre-Hindu spirituality is you couldn't get it wrong. If you mess it up, if you don't make any good choices this time around in your life and you just really go down the tubes with something and you end life without ever having accomplished what you wanted to do, you get to come back and do it again. And in truth, because you are an expression of the infinite, nothing is really lost anyway. It's just a different experience. It's just not the one that's on the billboards as held up as being, this is how you should be if you're really good. If life is really right. Life can be just as rich when it's messy and difficult and you're tangled up in relationships with love and you're doing all the things that might not work well in the story up here on a Sunday morning. But if you're living them and you're awake and intent to them, then that's life. And you have other choices to change it if you want to. You're not stuck with anything. But it's all good. It's all God. We say that all the time. It's all good. It's all God. It's all good. It's all God. Our role becomes finding a way to keep that true for ourselves and to stay out of the doldrums of depression or sadness or any of that. As you might have guessed, I had about 12 pages of notes here, none of which I can find right now. So I'm just going to leave you with this. I know what I want to leave you with. It's right here. This is a book about Vivekananda that is called Lessons in Classical Yoga. And the piece I want to leave you with is from this. Vivekananda lived until about 1902. He was one of the two gurus who brought yoga and yogic thought, yogic science. Actually, they don't call any of that religion, by the way. They call it all science. He brought the yogic sciences here to the U.S. and made quite a big, big splash. So here's what he says. All the various forms of cosmic energy, such as matter, thought, force, intelligence, and so forth, are simply the manifestation of that cosmic intelligence, or so shall we call it henceforth, the Supreme Lord. I like other words better than that, but I'm not him, so I'm going to read his words. I would say the Supreme Infinite Being. Everything that you see, feel, or hear, the whole universe, is its creation. Or to be a little more accurate, it's its projection. Or to be still more accurate, it is the Lord itself. It is God itself. It is the one who is shining as the sun and the stars. It is the Mother Earth. It is itself. It itself is the ocean. It comes as gentle showers. It is in the air we breathe, and it is in the one who is working as force in the body. It is the speech that is uttered. It is the one who is talking. It is the audience that is here. It is the platform on which I stand. And it is the light that enables me to see your faces. It is still the one. The one itself is both the material and the efficient cause of this universe. And it is that which becomes involved in the minute cell that evolves at the other end and becomes God again. It is that which comes down and becomes the lowest of atoms, and slowly unfolding its nature, rejoins God itself. It's the whole thing. That's who you are. It's what you are. And that's the truth. So it is. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. So let's take a few moments and let's spend a little time turning away from what's going on around us and turning our attention to that inner awareness of truth. That space within us where we are indeed, where we can indeed become conscious of the one. Conscious of that power that is bigger than us, that is greater than us, and in which we live and move and breathe. So we breathe deep and we release. We let the music draw us into our own quiet space. We let go of thinking about or figuring out or deciding anything good or bad or right or wrong or indifferent about anything that's gone on right now. And we just turn instead to that quietness, that place where there are no words, where at the end of each breath there is quiet. And we release any attachment to the things that are physical around us. We open our hearts and minds to that larger awareness that life, it's surging through us, it's surging around us, it is us. Whether we call it life or spirit or God or the infinite or the ultimate or whatever language we use. Doesn't matter. We feel it as a kind of expansion within us. An awareness that we are bigger than our bodies, an awareness that we are connected to the energies and the feelings around us in the room. And in and with that, we declare that we are ready to welcome, we are ready to experience, we are ready to see and know ourselves as the individual expressions of that infinite oneness, that infinite power. We are ready to see ourselves as of infinite value, just for being us. We are ready to see and know ourselves and know one another as being of infinite value just for being, not for doing. And we embrace the willingness to have this truth shown to us in ways that we cannot deny or step away from. So we can freely know and choose, is this true for me? Can I believe it? And by action of this treatment, I declare for myself, I do. And in declaring that belief, I open myself to the dance with the cosmic, to the awareness of seeing the light and the power in everybody I meet, everywhere I meet, every system, every group, and releasing any nonsense about there being anything less than that. I'm grateful that this is true. I'm grateful this is becoming more and more true for me each day. And I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to really sit with this idea. And in that gratitude, then, I can release this now. I release this treatment, release this meditation, knowing it is at work in my consciousness and continues to go and grow and bring forward greater and greater expressions of itself, greater and greater opportunities to see who I really am, who you really are, who we really are. And I embrace those opportunities with love and joy and appreciation, because that's what I'm all about. This is my truth. It is now God's truth. I let it be so, and so it is. Thank you. Wow. Thank you all. Yes, breathe. So, you probably saw the thermometer out front. That is not measuring temperature. It is a simple way of letting everyone know where we are financially with our center. For those who are here for the first time, just tune me out right now, because I want you to be here enjoying this. But you need to just say that we are in a growing position. It's an opportunity now for us to move to a greater and greater expression of ourselves with our finances, with our attendance, with all things. So if you are a member of the center and have not done your new membership, re-membership piece, it's stuck to the thermometer out there. And we'd like for you to fill this out, even if you're already a member and have been contributing and what have you, because in the life of this center, I can't find any record that anybody signed up to be a member. And for us to be a legal membership organization, we need that. So please fill it out, put it in the basket, and we will get those things corrected and brought up to speed. And meanwhile, give according to what you receive. It's all about circulation and flow. If you've really loved what's happening here today, tell somebody about it. Bring them next week. Because we are all about the circulation of good, and that is part of the good.